The fight wasn't about the mall. Not really. The mall was just the fuse, the spark that landed on the powder keg of our family's dynamic, a keg that had been filling for my entire 18 years. It was a Tuesday in late August, the air thick and hot, heavy with the end of summer and the precarious beginning of everything else. I was in my room, a glorified storage closet with a window AC unit that groaned like a dying animal, trying to iron the only semi-presentable shirt I owned. A pale blue button-down, bought 2 years too big and now just slightly too small across the shoulders. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., I had a job interview. A real one. For a junior technician position at Circuit Fix, a local electronics repair shop. It wasn't a career. It was a foothold, a chance to learn, to earn, to maybe save enough for a community college course in the spring. It was a thread of possibility, and I was clinging to it with everything I had. My sister, Chloe, was 17, a year younger than me. Her summer had been a curated portfolio of enrichment, a biology internship at the university, arranged by Dad, tennis camp, a volunteer trip to Costa Rica. Her future was a brightly lit runway, and every step was prepaid, pre-planned, pre-applauded. My summer had been mowing lawns for cash and studying old motherboard schematics online in the library's air conditioning. That Tuesday, Chloe's plans had hit a snag. Her best friend, the one with the car, had come down with mono. Chloe had a critical appointment at the mall. Not for school clothes. Those had been bought in a strategic, expensive trip last month, but for a specific, limited edition shade of lipstick from a specific boutique that was, apparently, essential for the back-to-school vibe she was curating for her senior year. The universe, in its infinite injustice, had deprived her of wheels. I heard the conversation escalate through the thin wall. Chloe's voice, a practiced blend of distress and entitlement. My father's, a low, rumbling problem solver. Then my mother's, placating. Footsteps approached my door. It wasn't a knock. It was a presence, followed by the door swinging open. My father filled the frame. He was a big man, not from fitness, but from a lifetime of business lunches and asserting dominance. His face was set in its default expression, mild exasperation, as if perpetually managing a minor crisis. Liam. Change of plans. Chloe needs to get to the Galleria for a 1:30. You'll drive her. It wasn't a question. It was a directive, issued from headquarters. I kept my eyes on the shirt, pressing a stubborn wrinkle near the collar. I can't, Dad. I've got the interview tomorrow. I need to prep. I was going to the library to run through some common troubleshooting scenarios they might ask about. He sighed, the sound of a man explaining gravity to a child. The interview is tomorrow. This is today. She needs to go today. The library will still be there later. The interview is at 9. It's an hour on the bus. If I drive her to the mall, wait for her, drive back, that's the whole afternoon gone. I won't have time to properly prepare. Then prepare tonight. I work the dinner shift at the diner tonight. You know that. A flicker of irritation crossed his face. My jobs, the diner, the lawns, were necessary nuisances to them, evidence of my lack of a proper, funded path. Chloe's unpaid internship was a line on a future college application. My paid work was grubby. Liam, this is not a negotiation. Your sister has an appointment. The car is a family resource. You will take her. I put the iron down, its hiss fading. The thread of possibility in my hands felt like it was about to snap. Dad, this interview, it's important. It could lead to something. A real skill. Can't Mom take her? Or can she reschedule? It's just lipstick. That was the wrong word. The absolute wrong word. From behind him in the hallway, Chloe's voice cut in, sharp as glass. It is not just lipstick, Liam. It's the solar flare shade from the Celestia collection. It sells out in, like, minutes. I have to be there at 1:30. My entire color palette for fall is built around it. I saw my father's jaw tighten. My priorities, a job interview for a tech repair gig, were not just inferior to Chloe's. They were an active impediment to the smooth operation of the family's central project, Chloe's successful launch. You heard her, Dad said, his voice dropping, taking on a dangerous calm. Get your keys. Now. Something in me, something that had been bent and compressed for years, decided it would not bend this time. This was my line. This pathetic, wobbly line in the sand around a $15 an hour job. But it was my line. No, I said. The word came out quieter than I intended, but it was clear. Silence. A profound, disbelieving silence. I had never outright refused a direct order before. I had argued. I had sulked. I had reluctantly complied. But never a flat no. My father took a step into the room. The space, already small, shrunk further. "What did you say to me?" I squared my shoulders, feeling the cheap fabric of the shirt strain. I said no. "I'm not going. She can take an Uber. I'll pay for it from my diner tips tonight. But I'm not canceling my preparation for this interview. You insolent little shit." The words were a low growl. "After everything we've done for you. You live under this roof. You eat our food. You use our car. And you can't do this one simple thing for your sister? For this family. Everything you've done for me. The dam broke." The words tumbled out, hot and desperate. "You bought Chloe a new car for her 16th birthday. You got her a MacBook, an iPhone, the internship. What did you get me? Good luck when I turned 18 and a reminder that my share of the college fund was reallocated after my grades didn't justify the investment. You pay for her tennis coach. I paid for my own certification books by scraping grease traps. Don't talk to me about what you've done for me." His face flushed a deep, mottled red. I had broken the cardinal rule. I had vocalized the unspoken hierarchy. I had made the implicit, explicit. "You selfish, ungrateful bastard," he spat. "Chloe has potential. She has a future. She's going to be something. What are you going to be? A guy who fixes phones? You think that's a future? That's a dead end. A consolation prize. Her future matters. It's an investment. Yours." He stepped closer, his bulk crowding me against my rickety dresser. The smell of his cologne, something expensive and woody, mixed with the hot, metallic smell of the iron. His eyes, the same pale blue as mine, but now glacial with contempt, bored into me. "Yours never did." The words didn't land like a slap. They landed like a guillotine. Clean. Final. Absolute. "Yours never did." All the muttered comments, the dismissive looks, the diverted resources, the Christmas presents that were practical, socks, a generic sweater, while Chloe's were aspirational, a designer bag, a jewelry box from Tiffany's. It all crystallized in that one brutal sentence. It wasn't anger. It was policy. It was the family balance sheet, read aloud. Chloe's column, assets with high growth potential. My column, liabilities. Write-offs. The shock must have shown on my face. He saw it, and for a fraction of a second, something flickered in his eyes, not regret, but a recognition that he'd said the quiet part out loud. Then it hardened again. My reaction, my pain, was just another piece of evidence of my weakness. "Now," he said, his voice deceptively calm again, "you will drive your sister to the mall. You will apologize to her for your outburst. And you will be grateful you have a roof over your head while you figure out your little hobby." He reached for my arm, not to hit me, but to manhandle me, to physically pivot me toward the door. It was the ultimate assertion of control. My body, my time, my future, all his to direct. I jerked my arm back. "Don't touch me." It was the final spark. His hand, meant to grip my bicep, shot out and shoved me, hard backward. I wasn't prepared. The back of my head connected with the wall with a sickening thud that reverberated through my skull. Stars burst behind my eyes. The pain was sharp and blinding. For a moment, I just slid down the wall, stunned, the world a ringing, blurry mess. I could hear Chloe gasp from the hallway. My mother's voice, a distant "David, stop." He loomed over me, his chest heaving. The violence had been swift, shocking, but the words that had preceded it were worse. I looked up at him, my vision clearing. I saw not my father, but a stranger, a man who had just quantified my worth to him. 0. The pain in my head was eclipsed by a colder, more final sensation. A switch flipping. The connection severed. I got to my feet, slowly, using the wall for support. I didn't look at him. I didn't look at Chloe's horrified but fascinated face in the doorway, or my mother's wringing hands behind her. I looked at my bed, at the iron shirt, now probably wrinkled again, at the folder with my printed resume. I walked past him, out of the room, down the hall. My movements felt mechanical, distant. "Where do you think you're going?" he barked, the authority back in his voice, tinged with a hint of uncertainty. I didn't answer. I went to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face. In the mirror, a red mark was already rising on the back of my head. My eyes were empty. I grabbed my toothbrush, my razor. I went back to my room, my father shadowing me, a growing storm of confusion and reasserting anger. Liam, I'm talking to you. You will drive your sister. This ends now. I ignored him. I took the worn Jansport backpack from under my bed. I put in the folder. The blue shirt, a pair of jeans, my phone charger, my wallet, which contained $47, and my bus pass. I zipped it up. What are you doing? This time, it was my mother, her voice trembling. I finally turned and looked at them. The three of them, standing in a cluster in the hallway. My father, furious and bewildered. My mother, anxiously patting Chloe's arm. Chloe, wide-eyed. The mall crisis momentarily forgotten in the face of this better, more dramatic one. I'm leaving, I said. My voice was flat. Dead. Don't be ridiculous, my father scoffed. You have nowhere to go. You have no money. You'll be back by dinner, begging. Maybe, I said, shouldering the backpack. But I won't be back tonight. And I won't be driving Chloe to the mall. I walked toward the front door. He moved to block it, but something in my face, the complete absence of anything he could leverage, no fear, no anger, just hollow resolve, made him hesitate. I sidestepped him. If you walk out that door, he said, his voice low and venomous, don't you dare come crawling back. You're on your own. You understand? You make your own way. Don't expect a damn thing from us. I paused, my hand on the doorknob. I didn't look back. I never did, I said. And I walked out. The August heat hit me like a wall. The suburban street was quiet, suffocating in its normalcy. I started walking. I didn't know where I was going. The bus stop. The library. Anywhere but there. The physical ache in my head was a dull thunder. But the echo of his words was a cleaver in my chest. Yours never did. I walked for an hour, sweat soaking through my t-shirt. I ended up at the park, under the shade of a massive oak. I sat on a bench and watched ducks paddle on the scummy pond. The finality of it all settled on me. I had no home. $47. A job interview tomorrow for a job I might not get. A shift at a diner tonight that I couldn't afford to miss. But I had something else. A terrible, unshackling freedom. The freedom of a null value. If my future never mattered to them, then it mattered only to me. I was solely responsible for its success or failure. There was a grim power in that. I went to the library. I studied. I called my manager, Gary, from the payphone outside. I told him I had a family emergency and might need a place to crash for a night or two. Gary was a gruff ex-Marine who'd seen it all. He didn't ask questions. Couch in the back office is yours if you need it. Don't be late for your shift. That night, after wiping down tables and refilling coffee pots, I slept on a stiff, vinyl couch in the diner's back office, surrounded by the smell of old grease and industrial cleaner. It was the best sleep I'd had in years. No one was disappointed in me. No one was comparing me. No one was telling me my dreams were a dead end. The next morning, I changed into my blue shirt in the diner's grim bathroom. I took the bus across town to Circuit Fix. The interview was with the owner, a woman in her 50s named Rita with shrewd eyes and solder burns on her fingers. She didn't ask about my family or my school. She laid a gutted laptop and a multimeter on the table. Show me what you see, she said. For an hour, we talked. About circuits. About logic gates. About the satisfaction of finding a single failed capacitor and bringing a machine back to life. She saw my passion, my self-taught knowledge. She saw someone who saw value in broken things because he understood how to fix them. The job's yours, she said finally. Starts Monday. $12 an hour to start. Goes to 15 after a 90-day probation. You'll be my gopher, but I'll teach you. You show up, you pay attention, you leave the drama at home. Deal, deal, I said, my throat tight. It was the first yes that had ever felt entirely mine. I moved in with Gary for a month, then found a room in a shared house with 3 other guys, all in various states of scraping by. It was chaotic, but it was mine. I worked at Circuit Fix by day and kept 2 evening shifts a week at the diner. I lived on ramen, frozen vegetables, and the thrill of learning. Rita was a merciless but brilliant teacher. Within a year, I was doing board-level repairs. Within 2, I was handling the most complex jobs. I saved every penny. I took night classes at the community college in electronics engineering. It was slow. It was hard. There were times I was so tired I fell asleep on my textbooks. There were times the loneliness was a physical weight. I'd see families in the diner, hear fathers laugh with their sons, and feel a pang so sharp it took my breath away. But I'd hear my father's voice. Yours never did. And the pain would harden into fuel. I sent no letters. I made no calls. On my birthday, my mother sent a text. Hope you're well. We miss you. I didn't reply. What was there to say? The bridge wasn't burned. It had been revealed as a mirage. There was nothing to cross back to. I heard snippets through the ghost of a social media presence I barely maintained. Chloe got into a prestigious private university. There were photos of her move-in day, my parents beaming, the family SUV loaded with matching bedding and a mini fridge. My father's business, a mid-sized commercial real estate firm, seemed to be booming. They took a vacation in Tuscany. The narrative was clear. The family was thriving. The problematic element had been removed, and the system was functioning perfectly. Let them think that. I had my own narrative. At 22, I left Circuit Fix with Rita's blessing, and a small loan she insisted was an investment. I started my own one-man operation, Revive Tech, specializing in data recovery and high-end device repair for small businesses. I worked out of my tiny apartment's living room. I undercut the big box stores and offered a personal touch. I got referrals. The business grew. At 24, I moved into a proper commercial unit. I hired my first employee, a kid named Ben who reminded me of myself, quiet, hungry to learn. By 26, Revive Tech had 4 employees and a reputation as the go-to for impossible fixes. I bought a small, tidy condo. It was empty, but it was mine. I had no debt. I had savings. I had a future I was building, brick by brick, solder joint by solder joint. The first tremor in their world came to me via a LinkedIn message. From Mark, a former colleague of my father's, a man who'd always been vaguely kind. Hi Liam. Hope you're well. Not sure if you're in touch with your family, but things have taken a turn at Dutton Realty. There's been some significant financial distress. I thought you should know. Take care. I stared at the message. Significant financial distress. I felt nothing. No schadenfreude. No concern. Just a distant curiosity. I didn't reply. A few months later, I ran into an old high school acquaintance, Sarah, at a supply warehouse. We made awkward small talk. Hey, I heard about your dad, she said, her voice dropping sympathetically. Oh, yeah, the whole bankruptcy thing. And the lawsuit from the investors. It's all over the business news. Really rough. And your sister, wow. My sister. You haven't heard? She dropped out of law school. Second year. There's some story about well, let's just say it wasn't academic. Something with a professor. It got messy. She's back home, I think. I thanked her and walked away, the box of capacitors in my hands feeling suddenly heavier. The golden future. The investment that mattered. It was defaulting. The full picture emerged in fragments, like pieces of a shipwreck washing ashore. A Google search revealed the headlines. Local realty firm collapses under debt. Allegations of misleading investors. My father's name was there. The comments section was brutal. The Tuscany photos were used in a follow-up article about lavish spending amidst financial turmoil. I learned Chloe had not just dropped out. She had been involved in a scandal that resulted in the professor's dismissal and her own unceremonious exit. The curated life had a crack, and everything had poured out. The confidence, the entitlement, it had all been built on the foundation of my father's bank account and unquestioning support. When that foundation shook, the structure had no internal beams to hold it up. My mother tried to call. Once. The number was unfamiliar, but the area code was home. I let it go to voicemail. Liam, it's Mom. Her voice was thin, frayed. We things are. I don't know if you've heard. We've had to sell the house. We're in a rental. Your father is not well. Chloe is here. It's very hard. I thought maybe you could call sometime, just to talk. We miss you. I saved the voicemail. I didn't delete it. I didn't listen to it again. It was a data point, a signal from a collapsing star. The climax, if you could call it that, was not dramatic. It was pathetic. It was a Thursday afternoon, about 7 years after I'd walked out. I was at my warehouse, overseeing the repair of a vintage server stack for a recording studio. I was in my element, covered in a light dust, explaining a routing issue to Ben. The door chimed. A man stood there, silhouetted against the afternoon light. It took me a moment to recognize him. My father. He was a ghost of himself. He'd lost weight, but it wasn't healthy weight loss. It was a shrinking. His clothes, once sharp and tailored, hung on him, rumpled. His face was gray, etched with lines I didn't remember. He looked at the space, the clean workbenches, the orderly racks of parts, the team in branded shirts, with an expression of pure, uncomprehending awe. He didn't see me at first. Then his eyes found me. They widened. I felt nothing. No anger. No pity. Just a vast, echoing stillness. Liam. His voice was a dry rasp. Dad. I didn't move from my spot. He took a few hesitant steps in. Ben and the others subtly found reasons to move to the back. This is your place. It is. It's impressive. I nodded. Waited. He shuffled, looked at his shoes, then back at me. The arrogance, the certainty, was gone. In its place was a desperate, cringing need. I was in the neighborhood. Thought I'd see how you were. We both knew that was a lie. He was not in the neighborhood. This was an industrial park 20 miles from his old haunts. Well, I said. Business is good. I can see that. He ran a trembling hand through his thinning hair. Listen, Liam. I about what happened to things I said. I held up a hand. I didn't need to hear it. An apology now would be as worthless as his esteem had been then. It would be about him, his guilt, his need for absolution. It's fine, I said, the lie smooth and cold. No, it's not. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Look at you. You built all this. By yourself. His eyes were glistening. Chloe, she's a mess. She can't hold a job. She's angry all the time. The house is gone. The cars. Everything. And you're standing here. Solid. He was waiting for me to offer something. A lifeline. A place to stay. A job. An acknowledgement that he was forgiven. That we were family. That the past could be mended. I gave him nothing but the truth. I had to be solid. The ground under me was never going to be. He flinched as if struck. The words yours never did hung between us. Unspoken, but louder than ever. Can I help you with something? I asked, my tone polite, professional. The tone I'd use for a lost customer. The hope died in his eyes. He understood. I was not his son in this moment. I was a successful business owner he had no claim on. The calculus was complete. His investment had failed. My non-investment had yielded unexpected, compound returns. No, he whispered. No, I just wanted to see you. I'm glad you're doing well. Thank you, I said. I hope things turn around for you. It was the most brutal thing I could have said. The sterile, generic well-wishing of a stranger. He nodded, turned, and walked back out into the light. He didn't look back. I went back to the server stack. My hands were steady. My mind was clear. Ben came over after a minute. Everything okay, boss? Yeah, I said, picking up my soldering iron. The tip glowed a clean, orange-hot point in the shadowy workshop. Just a ghost from an old life. Nothing that can't be fixed. And I went back to work, building my future, one careful, precise connection at a time. The one that had always mattered, even when no one else could see its worth.